Welcome to the Unfuck Your Fitness podcast. I am your host, Christy Castillo, and I'm here to give you real talk and cut the BS so you can actually enjoy building a body you love. I'm a personal trainer obsessed with giving you simple action steps to take you from feeling stuck to feeling sexy. Let's go. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to today's episode. I'm so excited for today's episode. I had an interview with my guest. His name is Vince Sant. He is the co-founder of V-Shred, which is a fitness program. It's so big. I hate to say that it's even just a fitness program. It's amazing. It was basically Beachbody, bodybuilding.com, and V-Shred were kind of the three programs, the three entities, and they were like entities in my brain that really sparked my love for lifting and fitness and kind of figuring all this out. So V-Shred is something that I've known about. Vince is someone who I've known about for years and years and years. So to have him on the podcast was just absolutely amazing. He, again, is the co-founder of V-Shred. He's the host of the V-Shred podcast. It's called Better Body, Better Life podcast. So go check that out because it's very bite-sized episodes. It's a lot of real talk and very digestible, just like the podcast you're listening to, if I do say so myself. So it's absolutely amazing. But V-Shred has a lot of different options too. So go check that out. If you've not seen a V-Shred advertisement, I don't know where you've been because I get them all the time and I have for years. But we talk in this episode about, honestly, we just unfuck fitness. And it was such a good conversation. You're going to love it. I'm so excited to bring it to you. It's a lot of real life, down to earth talk. And one reason I was so excited to talk to him about just about anything, and see where the conversation went was because he's been in the industry so long. And he mentions kind of like the golden years, the good years of fitness before everyone was an influencer and before social media. If you remember that time, it's just like when it was just bodybuilding.com, basically V-Shred and Beachbody, things were simple. And it was like there were programs, like things were different. There wasn't all the supplements and all the trainers. And it was really cool to get his perspective. And I knew it would be so cool because he's coached so many people. Their fat loss extreme program has been done by over 5.1 million people. So the amount of people that he's helped, the amount of programs that he's built, the amount of education that he has, and the amount of education that he's gotten just from coaching people it's unmatched. To be in the industry that long, you have to know your shit. And it has to be applicable. And the amount of growth that I knew that he had experienced, because you can't be in the industry that long without just learning so much about yourself and fitness and other people. So it was an amazing conversation. I hope you enjoy it so much. And I'm going to stop yakking so you can listen to it. I hope you love it. All right. Hi, Vince. Thanks for jumping on with me and us, I guess, all of us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, we were chatting a little bit about how busy your weeks have been. So I love that we can just have a little dose of reality because we're all busy and just trying to unfuck fitness, fit it all in, figure out how to live life and adopt the dogs and go on trips while staying fit and active. But so I'm super pumped. Just a little transparency, I've not been following you like on social media for the longest time, but I've known who you are for the longest time. So I'm really excited. I listen to your podcast. I've heard you on other podcasts and stuff. So it's funny when I listen to you talk about how you started V-Shred, co-founded V-Shred kind of back in the Beachbody day when there was kind of, before it is what it is now, I guess. And I can so relate to that because that's kind of how I started was with Beachbody and things were just a lot different. So it's
wow, okay.
Watch your journey, listen, kind of see all the things. And then the natural, I think, progression of just how I feel in fitness and how it's been. And, all of that. It's very real to kind of hear you talk about it. So I would love to know, I know I'm 43 and a woman. I don't know exactly how old you are, and a man. We'll get into that. So I know it's very different, but also it's just kind of cool to hear. So tell us a little bit about yourself. The journey, hit the parts that matter, and we'll get started.
Yes. So thanks for having me.
Yeah.
And yeah, sorry for the runaround of scheduling, like we were saying. I've been traveling and just adopted a new dog and had problems with the place I'm at right now in Vegas. And so we've been trying to get this going. So I'm glad we finally could. But my name's Vince. I'm 31 years old. I live in Las Vegas. I'm one of the co-founders of V-Shred and then our supplement line as well, Sculpt Nation. Started the company back in 2015, which, like you said, was back in like the Beachbody, bodybuilding.com days, which was kind of like the golden age of fitness, in my opinion, just because I feel like now everybody has a fitness brand and everybody's an online trainer and everybody has a supplement company or they're repping some supplement company in their bio and pushing something and getting paid for it and probably don't even take them. But I mean, I still love the fitness industry. We started this just as four partners who wanted to help some guys. Originally, it was to help some guys get in shape, and that has drastically changed. And originally, we kind of just wanted to have a business with, like, I was best friends with my partners and still best friends with two of them. And we just wanted to kind of have a business, like a little side hobby where we could help some people get in shape, kind of like us, because we're all 5 years apart. And so I'm 31, 36, 41, 46.
Okay.
And so we wanted to help guys like us get in shape, feel good, be confident. And then we also wanted to be able to pay rent with that money, And for the first couple of years, that's kind of what it was. Although we didn't make any money the first 2 years, I should say. But we had a vision, and then we kind of started getting a little bit of traction, and it kind of blew up much faster than and much bigger than we thought it would ever be. And that's when we realized, hey, we really have something here. And we all have I think we all kind of meshed because we all had big dreams and we had these big visions, and we kind of didn't fit in the normal group of the normal circles that are running around. We all met in LA, and people in LA just aren't it. And so that, I think that's why we kind of got to how we were drawn to each other. And once we saw that we had something that could really make an impact, we're like, all right, we got to go all in on this. Because at the time we were all working like other jobs. Like I was a fashion model in LA. That's why I moved there. And that was going pretty good. I just didn't love the industry because it's kind of gross. Two of them were in like affiliate marketing, had businesses before. Another one was managing like a club and also was like a coder, also was a real estate agent. So everybody had their own things going on. But when we saw this start to work, we were like, hey, if we want this to be something, we gotta go all in. We gotta put all our eggs in this basket, and we can't really have a plan B. And so that's what we did. I got rid of my modeling agencies. I was with like 4 different agencies. They all ended their businesses, quit their jobs, and we went all in.
Wow.
And yeah, it's been amazing. And what's funny is when I started talking about this, I said that we originally just wanted to help guys like us get in shape. And that has drastically changed. And now we are probably 70% women.
Wow.
And we are primarily 45 plus women.
Okay.
And so we do not help the demographic that we started out helping. But we found that that's kind of the demographic that I think kind of needs the most help, because that's when women's bodies start changing. And it can get really confusing. And I think there's a lot of information. It's like how we just mentioned, like the fitness industry has changed a lot. And there's a ton of influencers and there's a ton of online trainers, but I feel like they're all making this like bodybuilding style content that, or especially women, there's women making these like bodybuilding style content, getting big butts and also like a lot of it's unrealistic. And my mom's not interested in that. My mom's not watching that. My mom doesn't relate to that. My mom just wants to know how to lose 20, 30 pounds and get her hormones corrected and feel good in her body and increase how long she's going to live so that she can be around for her grandchildren. My sister just had a child 2 weeks ago. I'm a new uncle. And so my mom wants to be Thank you. My mom wants to be around for that, and I'm going to have kids in a couple of years. And so the interest of why people want to get healthy, why people want to get in shape changes as they get older. And I
Yeah.
love that because that way it's not just about vanity. I think there's always going to be a piece of it where it's about vanity, and that's okay. Like I like being in shape because I like looking good too, but I also want to be healthy. I also want to feel good,
Yeah.
And so I like working with people like that. And
Yeah.
so that's a little bit of an intro. Hopefully that
Awesome.
checks the boxes.
That's a really good intro. That makes my brain go in so many different directions. I love that you kind of talked about the golden years, I think is how you put it. I've never I kind of heard it put that way, but you're right. Like that, I went gradually from Beachbody to bodybuilding.com, and it's so funny. Like you just when you say that, I'm like, that is exactly what I did. Like that was just how you did it. That was what was around.
That's what everybody did. There wasn't a ton of competition.
No, and there wasn't much else out there. I think I just Googled what else is there without videos or something, and it was bodybuilding.com.
It was always bodybuilding.com. Always. That was it.
We loved it. I guess I learned a lot from it, and there wasn't so much. There wasn't social media. There wasn't there was obviously there wasn't so much. So it was just like you did this, and it's definitely a lot. And I think starting this podcast, that was my mission, was to sum up everything that I've gone through in those. I started when my son was born, so 16 years ago is kind of when I started getting in shape. So that's a long fucking time to be doing this and kind of essentially, working out my body. And now in my 40s, I'm like, what is happening to my body? But it's like I get to know it, and then I'm like, oh no, we don't know her. So it's a lot. And I think, starting this podcast, I just wanted to be real and break down all of the stuff that's out there. Like you don't have to try to grow your butt. You don't have to follow it.
Simplify it.
Yeah. It's
prioritize. Understand what's actually important. You know?
And I think as we age, like you were saying, that matter. Of course, I think we all start and there is that vanity aspect, but you can't keep going for the vanity aspect. It has to become about more than that and really be applicable. So you touched on all that so well. And I appreciate the authenticity of even your own journey of coaching, going you start for one reason, it evolves. It's kind of the same thing for fitness, honestly. You start working out for one reason and it all
100%.
Yeah. So
my training now is completely different than when I first started working out. And I was a kid when I was 14 years old when I first started working out. So it was 17 years ago. And obviously when you first start working out, it's like you're doing everything wrong. And like you said, back then there was barely internet, and so it's like you go online, there's some bodybuilding.com articles that you can go read, but they're just selling you their own products, which is why they did so well.
Right.
And so I'm buying these 50-pound bags of protein that tastes like total crap. And I'm trying to work out, but I'm not doing anything right. And then it changed. And then for the last probably up until probably 2 years ago, I just did bodybuilding splits. And that's how I always stayed sub 10% body fat and always stayed in really good shape. But I realized that my body wasn't trained for anything other than just locking myself into one position and pushing weight in this one direction and looking good.
Yeah.
My joints ache. I couldn't play any kind of sport. I wasn't mobile at all. My body had spent 10 years just basically locking down everything so that I could get into a bench press, locking down everything so that I could get into one stiff squat, And over the past 2-3 years now, that's changed pretty drastically. And I've enjoyed that process of changing it.
Yeah, that's interesting. I like that you touched on that too. We can kind of talk about that for a minute, because I think there is this notion of, only one way of working out. Honestly, it's kind of that, you have to, I think there's a lot of different things that people say, but kind of the general gist of what my clients come to me, and I'm primarily coaching women as well. But so we can kind of touch on this from a man and woman angle. But I mean, I'm married. I see my husband lifting and lifting and lifting, and same for me. And I love lifting. I really do enjoy it. But also I'm like, I can't, my back hurts. And I'm not flexible. And my joints hurt. I have clients all the time that are like, my elbows hurt, my knees hurt, everything hurts. Am I even healthy? Am I even in shape? I can't run a mile, but I can, You know what I mean? So
I look like I can.
yes, exactly. Like you look, I think when I looked, people be like, oh my God, your body, you're so muscular. And like, yeah, like, but I couldn't do anything else. And it was like so narrow minded. But I think that's kind of evolving too in my world anyway, where what I follow, maybe that's because I'm getting older and like this demographic that I'm coaching is like, yeah, there is more than just lifting. It is nice to run. It is nice to do flexibility and mobility and kind of morph that. So what are your thoughts? Kind of had that on my list anyway to chat with you about on fitting in, and maybe you can just talk about your own journey with this and it kind of morphs. I think we all kind of put that together in our heads, but thinking that there's one way, like I have to lift weights to look a certain way, but then also how do you fit that into your life? And how do you, if you don't enjoy lifting weights, how do you do it every day? Or should you even do it every day?
Yeah. So that's a 2-part question.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think first you should start with talking about what interests you,
Mm-hmm.
because that's our main thing at V-Shred is like, we don't, like you said, there's no one size fits all plan.
Yeah.
We have our staple programs that like, if somebody comes to us and they don't want to spend a lot of money on working with a coach, then we have like our basic like $50 programs that like, obviously you can't customize a program
Right.
for $50.
Right.
If they come to us, we have like our staples that we go to, which is generally when we designed these programs, we wanted to figure out like what we call minimum effective dose. It's like, what is the like max results that somebody can get with the least amount of effort put in.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so we lean towards like HIIT workouts, carb cycling, flexible dieting, and then like mixing and resistance training.
Okay.
That's what we lean towards in like our, I don't want to call them one size fits all programs, but they're just like digital staple programs. And then obviously you can get customized down the road, but you have to figure out like what you enjoy doing. Like if you do enjoy lifting weights, then amazing, because like lifting weights is the quickest way somebody is going to look better. Like that's just how it goes. People are like, what's the best workout to burn fat? It's like lifting weights. What's the best workout to build muscle? Also lifting weights. What's the best workout to lose weight? Lifting weights, because of your metabolic health. But if you don't like lifting weights, and we have tons of women that work with us who don't like lifting weights because they're either scared that they're going to get big and bulky, or they don't like going to the gym because they're intimidated by the gym, or they can't afford a gym, or they live far from a gym, or whatever it might be, or they got young kids and they don't have time to go to the gym. Then, okay, there's types of home workouts that we can get toward, that we can work with. And so like, that's where the HIIT workouts come into play. And that's where most of our, like I said, programs, that's what most of them lean towards. And so I'd say step one is figure out like, what do you enjoy? What type of workouts do you enjoy? And if you don't know, if you're like, I don't like working out, it's like, okay, well, that's not an answer. That's not a solution. Okay.
Right.
We need to figure out what you kind of like. Like, so go try stuff. And it's like, well, I don't know what. It's like, okay, have you played pickleball? No? Okay, go play pickleball. See if you like it. Have you tried running? Well, I ran when I was a kid and I hated it. Have you tried it since you were an adult? Because I hated it when I was a kid too. And I think it's one of the best things for our mental health now. So go try it. Do you like riding a bike? I don't know. Go try it. Do you like swimming? I don't know. Go try it. Do you like Pilates? Do you like bar? Do you like dance, yoga or dance cardio? Or there's so many things. F45, Orange Theory. And so like we talked about how like back in the day, the golden age of fitness, there wasn't all this stuff. Now there is. Yeah. There's no excuse. There's going to be something that you kind of like. You might not love it at first, because whenever you first start something, it's hard and you're nervous and you're around a bunch of other, if it's in a group setting, you're around a bunch of other people who have been doing this for a while and they're pretty good and they know everybody, and you're the outcast and you don't know anybody and you don't feel confident in your skin right now. That's okay. Just show up. And then after a while, you're going to understand it a little bit better, because what people usually find is that they don't like something at first. And then once they start getting good at it, magically, they start liking it. And so give yourself time to get good at it, you know? I think first step is figure out something that you enjoy doing. And so most people are going to have an idea of what they enjoy doing. If I asked my mom if she likes doing yoga or lifting more, she's going to have an answer for me. Okay, go do it, or try both, you know? And then from there, figure out a regimen.
Yeah.
And figure out how much time you can dedicate to this a week. And I think that's huge. And you got to be realistic about it. Because if you say that, okay, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to work out 5 days a week. It's like, okay, good. But are you?
Right.
Like next week, are you? Like you might this week because it's new. It's fun. You're excited to start, you know? After 3 or 4 weeks, are you still going to do that 5 days a week, or is 3 or 4 days a week more realistic for you?
Yeah.
And is mixing up the type of workout more realistic for you? I think figuring out like what you enjoy doing, and then, going back to like the weightlifting part of things, I think everybody should resistance training in their regimen, at least some. And it doesn't mean that you have to go to the gym still. You can still do body weight workouts at home. You can buy a set of adjustable dumbbells. You can get a weighted vest and do like, there's so many different options that you can do, but resistance training is going to improve somebody's metabolic health the most of anything. Like I think cardio is good for cardiovascular health. But it's not going to do much for your metabolic health, because the second, like especially if you're trying to like actually lose weight and see a lower number on that scale, cardio is not the answer. Like I don't do cardio to look good. I do cardio to kind of feel good. But also because I do races. And so I'm training for a half Ironman right now. And so if I wasn't training for that, I wouldn't do it as much as I do it. And to be completely honest with you, I looked way better before I did all this cardio.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel better.
Right.
And so like, you got to find that balance. And so, and then the other thing is like, hey, if you like running, like people always ask me this, cause like you said in the very beginning, you were like, I haven't followed you, but I've known who you are. That's most people who approach me, you know. They see we run more ads than anybody. And so they've seen me, but they don't know me, you know? And then they see that like I'm running, or I'm riding the bike for an hour, or I'm swimming for an hour. And they're like, don't you always say that you don't have to do cardio to get in shape? And I'm like, yeah, I do say that a lot. And I mean it. And before I trained triathlon, before I did triathlons, I didn't do cardio for probably 10 years of my life.
Yeah.
And I was in phenomenal shape. Like you'd look at me and be like, holy hell, like that guy has got to be on steroids. Cause like that's all I did was lift.
Yeah.
But I'd have shoulder pain. I'd have elbow pain. I'd have knee pain. And then, like you said, the second I would like go play a game of football with my friends or do anything active, I was gassed. Yeah. So here's this guy who looks like he works out for a living. And I did kind of work out for a living. And he's just not in good shape. Yeah. And I hated that.
Yeah.
And I kind of changed like interests, like type of training because of that. Because like for me personally, and we don't have to spend much time on this, I lifted for 10, 15 years. And I got to a point where I wasn't going to drastically improve more. Like I got to a place where like, unless I started like taking stuff. And so unless I like started juicing, I wasn't going to lift drastically more unless I got on like a powerlifting program, which I was not interested in. I wasn't going to get significantly bigger. I wasn't going to get hardly any leaner. And so I got to this place where like, I'm doing the same thing constantly for 15 years just to look the same that I've always looked, which I loved how I looked, but I'm somebody that likes to see progress. Yeah. You know, and I wasn't seeing progress. It was a stalemate. That's when my mom actually asked me if I wanted to do the turkey trot one Thanksgiving a couple of years ago. And I was like, sure, why not? And then I like trained for it. And when I first started running, my miles were at like 10.5-minute miles. And I was just like so out of shape. And then by the time the turkey trot got around, I think I ran the 5 miles in like 42 minutes, which is like sub 9 minute miles, 5 miles in a row. And I was like, wow, that's cool. I saw my work pay off, and then that's when this triathlon endurance journey started. And I've done 2 Olympic triathlons, ran a marathon, have a first Ironman coming up this year now. And I've just been watching myself progress. And that's been addicting, because that's why I got into fitness in the first place. I was like, I'm seeing myself get bigger. I'm seeing the weights go up. I'm seeing myself get leaner. And then all of a sudden it stopped.
Yes.
So, but you got to find what drives you, like I have multiple different whys. And I think that's a huge thing for people to have, is like, it's like you said, it's like, yeah, vanity's always going to be a piece of it, but there's a lot of other things that start becoming a part of the picture as you get a little bit older, and as your hormones start changing, and as you start having your kids get older and they start having kids, and now you're looking at becoming a grandma or a grandpa, and you want to be around, and now all of a sudden you're focused on living longer. You're focused on longevity rather than looking good. And so it comes down to what you want to do.
Yeah, that's good advice. I think that's good. I think a lot of people go about it the other way, as far as just finding a program. I want to lose weight. I'm going to do this program. They don't really think about what they like, what they want. How do they want to be? How do they want to live? Does it fit into their life? It's done kind of backwards. So I think it's good for people to hear people like you, people like me saying, yeah, I started this way. I changed, kind of fitting it in, and kind of real time like that.
And during,
go ahead.
I was going to say, and during that lifting phase of my life, if you would have told me that in 10 years I would be doing triathlons, I'd be running for 2 hours, I'd be like, you're crazy. Like, I'm never doing that. That's horrible. I hated it.
Yeah. Were you never a runner?
Well, I ran cross country in high school because I was too skinny to play football.
Okay.
I grew up playing football, and then I got to high school and I was tiny. Like, I'm a big dude now. Like, I'm 6'2", 200 now. But when I got to high school, I was like 5'5", 88 pounds. I wrestled the lightest weight class in 8th grade that you could. Like, I was little. And I got to high school and I was like, I went to like the first practice and I was like, I'm getting destroyed. Like, this hurt. Like, everybody's big and I'm not. So I quit. And I was like, what's a non-contact sport I could play? Because I wanted to play volleyball. And I did. And I was really good at volleyball because I actually got taller in high school. But yeah, I ran cross country in high school. Didn't do it because I loved it. Did it because I wanted varsity letters and I was fast. I ran cross country. I was decent, not great. There was 7 guys on varsity and I did just enough to be number 7 so that I could get that varsity letter. And then after high school, never ran ever.
Wow. Yeah.
Hated it. And then, picked it up probably 2-3 years ago. And haven't looked back.
I do like running. I ran cross country as well, and then ran after my first after having my first baby. I tried to like run myself back into shape and like run myself to muscles. Like, I want to look like that person on bodybuilding.com or whatever. Like, I'll just go run. And I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, but
it is nice though. Like, once you do find that form of exercise that like you enjoy, it's so nice. And people have this like misunderstanding that they're just going to hate all forms of exercise. And I saw a video the other day that like kind of perfectly illustrates it. It's like, I'm not on TikTok. It was like a reel on Instagram where it was like me before a run. And it was somebody like dragging their ass, like trying to like get their shoes on and trying to get out the door. And then they get back from their run and they're all happy and they're all energetic and they're all feeling good. And that's the endorphins that are fueling you, And so I think people are just too hesitant to try something that they think they're not going to like.
Yeah.
And they might find out that they do.
If you're not good at something, or you don't think you'll be good at something, a lot of times we're setting which same for me. And my form was atrocious. I worked out from home, thank God. But we lived kind of far from a gym anyway. So when I look back, I'm like, I mean, you weren't good at lifting, but nobody is. That's the whole point. No one's good at lifting when they're first starting. So I think that's a lot of it too, is like, I won't be good at pickleball. I won't be good at F45. I remember going to a spin class a couple of years ago. One of my clients invited me and I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be so embarrassing because I'm going to look probably like one of the most fit people in the room. And I am going to die. Like it's going to be
Mm-hmm.
embarrassing. And that's exactly what happened. And I felt like an idiot, but and I don't enjoy it. So I don't do that very often. But yeah, I think figuring out what you enjoy is definitely part of it, which kind of leads into my next.
Well, one thing I want to say is I think that's an important note to understand for people is, hey, it's okay to not enjoy stuff. Like you tried it.
Yes.
That doesn't mean you have to keep doing it. Just go try something else.
What are your thoughts on this? If someone doesn't, because I talk a lot of, I don't want to say I talk a lot of shit on here, but I do get straight to the point where I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
if you do want
It's
to
called
build,
unfuck your fitness. So it's got to have some of it.
if you do want to, this is not where I was going, but thanks for bringing this up. If you do want to build muscle, but you don't like lifting weights, too bad, right? Like you have to do it.
Yeah. I think that's probably the only form of exercise that is a non-negotiable for me.
Yeah, agreed.
Like if you don't like running, you don't really need to run. If you don't like biking, you don't really need to bike. If you don't like doing F45, you don't really need to do F45. Resistance training is the one non-negotiable that I tell people, hey, try to get a minimum of 3 lifting sessions a week.
Yeah.
You can get pretty damn good results working out resistance training 3 days a week, as long as you're pushing yourself. And it's a very easy structure. It's just lower body, upper body, full body. And you're hitting every muscle group twice a week. As long as you're pushing yourself. And ladies, I'm talking directly to you with this, lifting heavier weights than you think you should be. There's way too many times I see girls at the gym who have the 15-pound dumbbells, the 10-pound dumbbells, and they're doing shoulder press with it when they could be doing 30s. Yeah. And I'm like, you're not doing anything for yourself right now. Yeah. Nothing. Like you think you're toning. You're not. You're not doing any. You're wasting your time right now.
Yeah.
Agreed. You're not going to get in shape from pushing 5, 10-pound dumbbells. Unless you're like really beginner and that is challenging you, that's one thing. Sure. If you've been doing that for a couple months now and you're just not going up because you're scared you're going to get big and bulky, you're not going to get big and bulky. Your body does not have the hormones to get big and bulky. Yeah, I tried to get big and bulky for 10 years and I got 15 times more testosterone than any woman listening to this. Yeah. So it's not going to happen. So yeah, I think you're right. The resistance training is the only non-negotiable. It doesn't mean you have to live in the gym. Doesn't even mean you have to go to the gym. Yeah, you can get an adjustable set of dumbbells at home or 2 or 3 sets of dumbbells at home. And you can get a great workout. Like some of the best workouts I've ever gotten were the ones where I was either short on time or I had very little equipment.
Yeah.
So I had to get creative and I had to push myself and I was more focused during that. Yeah, I think resistance training is that non-negotiable. Everything else you can kind of find substitutes for.
Love that. Thanks for agreeing with me. I appreciate that. I think too, like focusing on, and I know you've talked about this, but well, I shouldn't say I know, but I assume focusing more on like the act of it rather than the outcome of it, in terms of making it a lifestyle, making it something that you're doing. I think instead of saying, I did this one workout or I worked out for 2 weeks and I didn't see any results, meaning I didn't see any weight loss, basically, because you're going to see so many other results, focusing more on the actions daily, the habits, the feeling, the workout. Again, finding something that you like instead of, am I losing weight? Am I, what is the ultimate? Because I'm sure you ran a lot of training miles when you didn't feel like there was progress, but you kept going, because you had to. If you quit, the only way we lose is to quit. So let's talk about that for a minute and just kind of how you encourage your clients or even yourself as far as not focusing so much on the outcome.
Yeah, no, it's huge. And I think as you, like where I'm at now, I can do that a lot easier. Mm-hmm. It's somebody in the beginning that really struggles with this. Like I know I'm not going to progress weekly. I might not progress monthly, especially when I was lifting weights, I wasn't progressing monthly. Like right now, if I'm still like, I still consider myself like a beginner triathlete. If I even consider myself a triathlete, I'm slow compared to like good people, And so like, if I'm not progressing monthly, if I'm doing everything that I should be doing and I'm not progressing monthly, which is another part of this conversation, you got to be doing everything that you're supposed to be doing. Yes. If you're not, don't expect to progress.
Great. Great.
If I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to be doing monthly and I'm not progressing at this stage in year 2 of my triathlon journey, then I'm pretty bummed, to be completely honest. With my lifting, I was not progressing monthly. But like right now, I don't progress weekly. And then sometimes I'll get an injury, I'll get a sickness, and I know that I'm going to backslide far and it's not going to be fun. And I know there's about to be a little bit of a journey ahead of me just to get back to where I was, which sucks, but that's part of the journey. But I think for people starting out, it's super important to manage expectations. And I even say that it's really about removing expectations for the first 30 days. And I think that's one of the things that I talk about a lot. The first 30 days are make or break for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like there's been studies done that like, especially like around New Year's, it's like 86% of people quit before week 3. That's crazy.
Wow.
And then there's also been studies done on like habit formation and talking about how long it takes somebody to break an old habit and build a new habit. And there's been a bunch of different conclusions on like the number of days. Like there's no set in stone. It takes 36 days to build a new habit, for everybody. Some say it's 21 days. Some say it's 48 days. Some say it's 21 days to kill a habit and then 21 days to build a new one in its place. But what's important to understand is that all of them add a number. So all of them have a certain amount of time until you do build a new habit.
Yeah.
And so what that tells me is, hey, or what it should tell everybody listening is, hey, if I just do this long enough, eventually it becomes easier.
I like that.
Yeah. And a lot of the studies have been done around that 21-day mark. That's why we always say in my company, like, hey, the first 3 weeks make or break you. Like, and think back to any time you've ever done anything. That first week is actually kind of easy because you're excited about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The second week, not so easy. You're like, okay, I'm too early for results and I'm still a little excited, but this is getting harder. The third week, that's when everything gets rough because it's still sometimes too early for like real noticeable results. Man, this is a lot of work.
Yeah.
And that's when people quit. And the reason people usually quit right then is because it's a lot of work for minimal results. And that minimal results is not what they were expecting. They were expecting to lose 5 pounds. They were expecting to lose 10 pounds. They were expecting to fit into this pair of jeans that they were barely too big for, and they don't yet, And so people go into it with these expectations of quick results, and they completely forget about just the process that they need to follow. Because like, there's obviously the super cliche quote of like, trust the process, but it's like the most true thing ever. Like if you're doing something that's bad for you, that's one thing.
Sure.
If you're doing a bunch of cardio, you're not lifting weights, you're starving yourself, you're not eating carbs. Okay, we got back up here.
You need a new process.
That's not going to get you results ever.
Yeah.
Okay. But if you have a good coach or you're following a program from a good brand and you're doing what it says you should be doing, my best recommendation is just for the first 30 days, focus on today. That's it. Don't worry about what the scale says. Don't even look in the mirror. And for women, that's tough because like you got someone put on makeup or whatever. But like, don't be looking for results in the first 30 days. All you need to focus on is the habits that you're trying to form, the lifestyle changes you're trying to make. And if you do that for 30 days, the next 30 days is going to be easier. And all of a sudden you're going to look up and you'll have done this for 30 days without worrying about the results, but you'll look up after 30 days and you'll have some results. And if you go into it with that mindset where you're like, I'm doing this for 30 days, don't care what happens. Yeah. And you lose a pound, you're stoked about losing a pound. You're like, whoa, I just did this not expecting anything. And I just made waking up and having a healthy breakfast so much easier. I just made getting into a habit of going to the gym and lifting 3 days a week so much easier. I did all these amazing things and I lost a pound.
Yeah.
That's a completely different mindset than going, I want to lose 30 pounds in 3 months. So I need to lose 10 pounds this month. And then you lose a pound. And you're like,
yeah. And then you're done.
I only lost a pound. I'm not doing this any longer, you know? And so like, it's a completely different mindset. And so that's why I talk about that first 30 days being make or break. And if you remove expectation from those first 30 days, you are setting yourself up for success. And then if you do just focus on the things that you have to do every single day, it becomes a matter of when you lose, however, if you want to lose 100 pounds, it becomes a matter of when you lose that 100 pounds rather than if you lose
Yeah.
that 100 pounds.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. I really like that. It really does change. It's one of those things that sounds, I think, so ridiculous to people. But then when it starts, when it starts to make sense, it's like, oh, it really does make sense. But it's not, I always say, like, it's not the sexiest thing to say or to sell, which is fine, but it's not to be like, well, in 30 days, you may see results, you may not, physically or results you want. But I think too, obviously, like, and my clients know this. I had a girl, well, say to me the other day, she's one of my clients, and she said, like, I'm doing great. I'm drinking more water. I've got my staple foods down. I have meals on repeat that I'm used to. Like, she's getting on a couple supplements that she needs, just really nailing things. And it's been 2 months and she's just feeling great, physically fitting into a new skirt or an older skirt. Her name's Meredith. So go Meredith.
Go Meredith.
Yeah, she's doing great. And I said, great. Now all we have to do is figure out how to do this forever. Like, all you have to do now is keep doing it forever, kind of joking, and she's like, yeah, it's really simple, isn't it? But it is. And like, for her, it will be so simple. And I love when clients come to me and they're like, what I really want is to get the habits. I really want the mindset. I really want to, they don't really care about the number. Of course we do in a sense, but it's those clients that I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be great because we're working on the things that matter. And yeah, it does fit into her day now. And she can do it so seamlessly. And I think she's 4 days a week, 1 day at home, 3 days at her work gym.
Right.
Like, it's all just panning out and she's just crushing it. So it's one of those things that I love sharing about because it wasn't about the end result for her at all. It was all about
That's amazing.
finding a couple of stuff.
And that's such a hard mindset to adapt.
Yes.
Or adopt. It's such because like everybody's results focused, and that's okay to be results focused. Like, that's the other thing that I always sandwich with me saying, hey, no expectations for 30 days. I'm always like, hey, have your goal. Like, have your goal in mind. Get Post-it notes, put it on your computer screen, put it on your mirror. Remind yourself every fucking day what your goal is.
Yeah.
But do not get so caught up in that you're expecting it to happen in a linear progression.
Right.
Because it's not going to.
Agreed.
And sometimes you're, like I said, I'll get mad if I don't progress over the span of a month, but sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
And I'm not happy about it, but that doesn't mean I'm going to quit. That means that I'm going to bunker down and I'm going to focus and I'm going to figure out why this didn't work. And I'm going to make any adjustment that I need to make so that the next month, the same thing doesn't happen.
Agreed. And I think that's the thing too, is like, it's always, if it's going to be like a lifelong thing, then how are we going to adjust it to make sure that, I don't really like these plateaus, but either I have to bust through them or I have to figure out if I'm actually doing all the things I say I'm doing. Am I following the right thing for myself? So it all matters, but certainly saying, fuck it, I'm not doing this anymore that's just never the answer. That for me is never, then I'm just not that kind of a person. I'll always try to figure it out. Always, always, always. Before I'm just like, give up. But I understand that.
I generally think that when people do have that mindset, it's because of lack of confidence in what they're doing.
Totally. Yeah.
And so I think that's a big piece that people need to go into it with, is understanding or truly like asking themselves, hey, I know a lot of people who just like don't go get a program or don't go get help or don't even do any research. And they just like go to the gym and they diddle daddle around the gym and try out this machine and try out this machine and don't really push themselves and then go walk for an hour and they don't really get results. And I'm like, there's zero structure to that.
Yeah.
And then when they don't get results, they have zero confidence in it. They don't, because they did it themselves. Yeah. They don't know jack shit about fitness and programming anything. And so it's like, why would you have, it's like me, if I was trying to build a house, I don't know how to build a house. And if I was trying to build a house and after a month, I have like zero progress, I'm like, I can't do this. Like,
no, of course
I'm done. Right? I'm done trying. But if I had a day by day program on how to build a house, I have confidence from a professional house builder, from the Toll Brothers. They gave me a house design, day by day house build design.
You got this.
Like, okay, I
Yeah.
know this works 100%. All I have to do is this today.
Yes.
If people have that confidence in their plan, then when things do get hard, it's a little bit easier to continue pushing because they know that, hey, this is correct, versus if they put it together themselves and they don't get any results. Now you have that thought in the back of your mind where like you're asking yourself, damn, is this even what I should be doing?
Yeah.
You know, and that's a very easily avoidable like question in your brain.
Yeah. And I talk about that a lot on here, is that confidence piece. It's that self-sabotage. It didn't work in the past. But why didn't it work in the past? Because you didn't know what you were doing, because it wasn't a plan. You weren't confident. You didn't have it. You know, it's all those reasons for sure. So yeah, 100% the plan matters. I wish for myself I would have had a better plan years ago, because
Same.
like, oh my God, if I only would have known.
Yeah. My lifting, I did not. But my first triathlon, I got a triathlon coach, and that gave me all the confidence in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish I would have just known. I wish I would have had this podcast. I say that a lot when I was doing this stuff, just to kind of figure out what the hell are macros and what the hell is progressive overload.
I feel like the word macros just kind of became popular like 5 years ago, which is crazy.
Yes, it is crazy. And it's such a
staple.
It is. It's so crazy to me how, and I mean, I get it, but yeah, the way I learned it was, if it's your macro, whatever the acronym for that is.
IFLAM. Yeah.
There we go. So I learned that. And then I had, my cousin he did not try to help me. He just told me, this is what you like should be eating. And I was like, I don't know what that even means. But yeah, macros is I love talking about macros. I talk about them a lot on here because they're obviously the breakdown of your calories, which is your fuel, which you need. And I think that's part of it too, is just, that's confidence. When you can teach someone, which you do, whether it be through your programs, your one size fits all, which I have a fit club that's the same thing. It's one size fits all, but it's thorough. If it's from the right coach and it's set up correctly, they will still learn through those programs why food is important and how to,
and how to calculate it yourself.
Yes.
That it may be a one size fits all, but it's still showing you how to cater it to yourself. And they're goal based too. So it's not like it's the fat loss extreme. It's the toned to 90. It's the clean bulk. And so like they're goal based, but it's not like I can't give somebody a modification because they had knee replacement. Like I can't do that.
Right.
If it's a $50 program, you know, but it's still showing them what they should do for their specific goal. It's still showing them how to cater their calories, their macros to them, giving them recipes to pick themselves and mix and match so that they can eat foods that they enjoy eating. But yeah, you don't have that coach aspect to customize it to you and take that guesswork away.
Yes.
So,
which I love and highly recommend a coach aspect. 1000%. But I think that's where the confidence comes from. I think there's both sides. I think them being able to tailor it to their own needs. For me personally, it would be like, okay, I'm doing the calculations and I did this for years. And then I'm like, is that right? Because there's no one to back me up and say, yeah, you calculated that correctly. So that's why having a coach is really important. But I think that's where a lot of that confidence does come from, is when they learn what macros are instead of just putting it into an app or doing the little food containers. I rip on Beachbody all the time for that. But, just things that we
teach a man to fish.
Exactly. If you don't learn about fueling your own body, if you don't learn how to lift weights and when to incorporate HIIT and all of that, that's where the confusion and the non-confidence comes into play. So I really like that about your program and structures too, because I just want everyone to have that awareness. That's how I become confident. It takes out that guesswork piece. And
it's not as tough as people think it is. I think that's the other piece, is like in the beginning, anything that you're going to start in the beginning, mounting a TV, the first time you do it, it's going to be a little tough. You know, the second time you do it, it's going to be quite a bit easier. Third time you do it, you can be like, oh, I know how to do this.
Yeah.
Same thing with calculating macros, same thing with cooking a meal, same thing with going to the gym and doing your first workout, you know? And so people have to be ready for that challenge in the beginning. And some people have that mindset where they welcome it, but some people struggle with that. And that's okay to struggle with that. Just prepare yourself ahead of time that it's going to be a struggle.
Agreed. Yeah. Yeah, totally. I think just having the awareness of what it's actually going to be like. And then a lot of people hire me and they're like, I know you're not going to bullshit me. I know you're going to say, is this possible? Is this not possible? What am I going to have to actually do?
Yeah.
It's going to take longer because why not? You're not going to get that 90 days, 30 days, or, maybe. So why waste that 90 days and then be pissed off at the end? If it's going to take 6 months, cool.
Yes.
Let's take 6 months.
Yes.
That's beautiful. So,
yes. I usually tell people to have big goals. Don't put a timeline on it.
Love that. Yeah. And there's also nothing wrong with that. I think we can touch on that real quick and then I could talk to you all day about this stuff.
We can run it back.
Let's go. I think having big goals is something that's, I think as far as, and maybe this is a men's women thing, and I would love to pick your brain more on the men aspect of things. Obviously, I'm a woman. I talk to more women, but I have a lot of spousal questions and stuff. And I think there is a difference between that. So it's interesting that you coach more women. I thought it would be more 50-50 probably in your programming. But anyways, I think women, especially, like you were just saying, lifting lighter in the gym, we always kind of, and maybe, I don't know if men are the opposite. In my head, men just have a little more like confidence of like, I can do this and I can lift heavy, maybe not. But women don't. We're a little more like, I can't lift heavy. People are staring at me. What will people think? It's a lot of negative talk in our heads.
Yeah.
I do love that you just said, like, have big goals, like shoot for the stars and lift heavy. And I just did an episode a while back about really like taking up space and just owning your shit and being a badass. And like, I love that kind of concept. So yeah, I think having big goals is great. But do you want to, can you touch on that really quickly? Just as far as...
no, I'd love to, because you're totally right. Like, as a guy myself, I've never, ever had any kind of hesitation to going to the gym and lifting weights ever. I think for guys, it's you're worried you're not lifting enough. That's the insecurity.
Yeah.
You look weak. That's the insecurity. Okay. Women do not have that same insecurity.
No, never.
Women have the insecurity of, hey, first off, I think people are looking at me.
Uh-huh.
And my response to that is nobody's looking at you.
Love that.
Everybody is worried about themselves. Everybody's insecure at the gym. Yeah. Even the people who look amazing at the gym are probably the most insecure.
Absolutely.
By the way.
Agree.
That's why they're in phenomenal shape, because they're so insecure. And so they're worried about themselves. They're worried if everybody else. Everybody is worried that everybody's looking at them. And so therefore they're all looking at themselves. Perfect. Nobody's looking at you. You know? The other thing is women get worried that, and guys also get worried about this too. They don't know what to do. Yeah. And the only way to fix that is to get help. There is no go to the gym and just do a bunch of stuff, because you're going to end up doing it wrong. It's either get on YouTube. YouTube is phenomenal. YouTube, there's a bunch of nonsense on there, but there's a bunch of great stuff on there too. So get on YouTube, learn what exercises you need to be doing for your specific goals, learn the specific form that you'd like, the form. Like I always say, like, I'm a golfer. And so like my golf swing's pretty bad. And so like, I'm always thinking, I always try to keep my swing thoughts, is what they're called, to 1 or 2.
Okay.
So for every exercise that someone is doing, try to keep your form thoughts to 1 or 2. If you're trying to remember 15 different cues for a squat, you're going to be all up in your head. But if you just remember that you want to keep your chest out and you want to keep your pelvis tucked, all of a sudden, this squat's a little bit easier and you're not overthinking everything.
Love that.
And so I think the first one is nobody's looking at you. Second one is make sure that you know what you're doing. And so like, and sometimes people like getting a coach to go to the gym with them. Like, I think that's becoming a little weirder now, which is odd because of how many online trainers there are. And I don't think that the in-gym trainers are like the be-all end-all, because like, I don't think half of them know what they're doing and they don't help you with nutrition. And so like, you're paying $150 for an hour with this person when you could get 3 of my programs for that price, you know?
Yes.
But it's good to help you in the gym with that confidence. And then what was the other one? Oh, the weight thing. I think women are scared to go heavy. Mm-hmm. And the reason women are scared to go heavy is because generally, let's say that, like, my sister asked me this not that long ago, because my sister, she's been struggling with some things and she's heavier than she would like to be. and she's trying to get into the gym again. And she's scared to lift weights because she's already a larger set woman. And she is worried that if she puts on muscle, she's just going to become more larger set.
Yeah.
She's going to become bigger. She's going to become bulkier. She doesn't want to become bulkier. She wants to get smaller. So she's doing cardio. She's lifting light weights.
Yeah.
And women need to understand that's not how you get smaller. Light weights and cardio is not how you might get smaller if you're, I mean, a lot of it comes down to your nutrition. So you have to be in a caloric deficit. Like that's a non-negotiable. But when it comes to lifting weights, the whole point of lifting weights is to challenge your muscles so that you actually can build muscle. And that muscle, by the way, so what building muscle does is it speeds up your metabolic rate. That's why you have that friend who is in phenomenal shape and eats whatever they want. They can eat pasta, pizza, burgers, fries, milkshakes. They can have whatever they want and they never are in bad shape. That's because of their metabolic health. Typically because they have muscle on their body. Like I have a decent amount of muscle in my body. I got some guy friends who do not. I can eat so much more and so much worse than them because I burn it, you know? Yeah. And so ladies, lifting weights, heavier weights that challenge your muscles that you actually struggle with, picking up 25, 30 pound dumbbells for that chest press or that shoulder press rather than the 5 or 10 pound dumbbells is going to challenge your muscle. It's going to create this little microscopic muscle tears on your muscle fibers. And then that muscle is going to grow bigger and stronger, and it's going to speed up your metabolism. That metabolism is what's going to help you burn more calories. And also, I think what's super important to understand for women specifically with this point is that muscle is almost 5 times as dense as fat, which is super important to understand because, ladies, if you burn 1 pound of fat and put on 1 pound of muscle, it's going to significantly speed up your metabolism and it's going to look like you burned 4 pounds of fat.
Yeah.
So you can burn 5 pounds of fat that's going to look like 25 pounds of muscle.
Yeah.
So like if muscle is like the size of your fist, like that's 1 pound of muscle, put 5 of your fists next to that. That's 1 pound of fat.
That's crazy.
Fat is so much larger than muscle. Like if you were to just Google like the images of like what fat replicas look like, we use them all the time in our ads just as a great visualization of it. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And so if you're burning 5 pounds of fat, but putting on 1 pound of muscle, your metabolic health is increasing tenfold, but also you still are losing so much fat. Because the other thing is like when women go to the gym and they do a bunch of cardio, yeah, it burns calories, but the second you step off that treadmill, you're done burning calories. If you lift weights and put on muscle, you're burning calories even while you sleep, even while you're sitting on the couch eating potato chips. And so like you get way more bang for your buck out of this resistance training. And if you think that like lifting light weights is going to tone you, it's not. What's going to tone you is heavy weights. Heavy weights. Light weights, just so you ladies know, if I want to get big and bulky, I lift light weights. If I want to stay smaller and get stronger, I lift heavy weights. There's this thing called hypertrophy versus strength training. Hypertrophy is with light weights, high reps. That's how you get big and bulky. That's if I was ever trying to get my biggest, I'm lifting in that 12 to 15 rep range. If I'm trying to get strong and stay lean, I'm lifting in that 4 to 8 rep range.
Yes.
So
I'm glad you just said
another
that.
thing that's important to understand. So ladies, don't be worried that people are looking at you at the gym. Everybody is worried about themselves. Don't be afraid to ask questions. I'll also add that. And generally, I would say the people who are most willing to help you is that big, scary, muscly guy. He's usually the nicest one in the gym and he's happy to help you. And then you have form. I think that's important to get comfortable with. That's one you can't just go to the gym enough and just figure it out on your own. It's going to take you a long time. You're probably going to have bad habits for a long time. It's like I said, with my golf, like if I just go out and play golf, I'm going to create bad habits and I'm never going to know what to fix or what I'm doing wrong. If I get a coach or a lesson who's going to show me, hey, you're doing this wrong. You need to fix this. You need to fix this. Now I know what I'm supposed to be working on. And then up the weights, ladies. That's the best piece of advice I can give. up your weight, like double.
Absolutely. I will always, you lift 15, let's try to do a 30 on the, single arm back row. And they're like 30.
Yeah.
And they can do it.
And they can do it easy. They can do it
Absolutely.
easy.
They're like, oh, I repped that out, no problem. I got to go buy bigger weights. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And I thought the same thing. So obviously I'm coming from a place of love with that. But yeah, I thought the exact same thing. I remember when my husband brought home a squat rack and I'm like, I'm never using a squat rack. Like that's, I'm over with my little beach body, workouts. And obviously love it. But yeah, you have to have that visual of the muscle versus fat. You have to know you have to know. That's why that confidence is so important. Having someone or program that you trust, someone is easier because you will fix your form. You will feel it in the right spots. You will grow. You will understand that, light weights and more reps is not the answer because then you're literally spinning your wheels. You're thinking, I'm doing this and it's going to get me to where I'm going. And then it's not.
It never does.
No. And then you are stuck. So I really do love that you touched on all of that because I know that's something that women struggle with. And obviously you coach a lot of them. So I knew you would know. So I really.
And I guess I forgot to talk to the spouses, guys, stop going too heavy. That's my only recommendation for you. There's way too many times I see guys in the gym I've been going to my gym for probably 3 or 4 years now. I've seen everybody. I know every face in there. And I know how much weight people should be pushing. And I see a guy who I've seen in there for a couple months now pushing way too much weight on incline bench press. His form's horrendous and he's not going down deep enough. His shoulders or his elbows are flared way out, or on the lat pull down and he's turning it into a bent over row because he's swinging back so far, or on squats and his low back is not looking good and he's not hitting depth. The best thing I ever did for my fitness regimen, for my physique, was drop weights and learn form. That was the best thing I ever did. And for a long time, I didn't even care about lifting heavy because I did enjoy, this kind of be contradictory to women because I was trying to put on as much size as possible. And you do put on size by lifting light and doing more reps and working hypertrophy and getting that lactic acid buildup and that burning sensation in your muscle by rep 13 and then pushing 3 more until failure. That's what I was focused on for a while. Most people see me in the gym. I'm not as big as I've ever been right now because I'm doing endurance stuff. But let's say the biggest I ever was, I still wasn't lifting heavy. I was still pushing 70-pound dumbbells on chest press, which for a guy is not, for a guy who's been working out for 15 years is not a lot. There's kids in there who are not in good shape, who aren't big, who are trying to push the 110s. And I'm like, what are you doing? Are you trying to become a power lifter? If so, great. If you're just trying to look better, like I was at your age, or guys who are 10, 20 years older than me, it's even harder on your body to go that heavy. Stop worrying about trying to look strong, because for those of us who know what we're doing, you look like an idiot. Sorry to be straight with you. But I see people who are going super heavy and I'm like, you clearly don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And so you might look cool to the other people who have no clue what they're doing, but not really.
Yeah.
So drop the weight, check your ego, leave the ego at the door, and lift weights that you can control. And then after a couple of weeks of you lifting that lighter weight that you can control, all of a sudden you're working your way up towards that heavier weight with good form. Yeah. And you're also looking a lot better because you're actually building muscle now in the areas that you want to build it. So that's my advice for the guys.
Love that. Great. I love the say it. Just say it.
Yeah, no. I mean, I see it all the time. I'm like, you clearly have no clue what you're doing. You think you look cool because you're lifting super heavy and you look dumb.
Yeah.
And that was me. And I say that because that was me.
Yeah.
That was me from age 14 to probably age 20. Before I knew what I was doing, before we started this brand, before I got certified, that was me. And I thought I looked cool because I was lifting heavy weights and I looked like an idiot looking back.
Well, you don't know. Exactly. You don't know. I mean, if you hadn't done that, you wouldn't know you looked like an idiot.
Exactly. And I've hurt myself before doing that kind of stuff, like serious, like disc herniations, torn muscles. Like You don't want to do it. It's not fun.
I do talk about that a lot in terms of just progressive overload, because that's a big term that people, it's misunderstood or not. There's just reels out there that are 30-second overview of progressive overload, which but it's
5 pounds heavier every week. And it's like,
no, that's
after
not
10 weeks, that's 50 pounds heavier. It's like, that's crazy.
My clients, and I'm like, well, I've been doing this for 16 years. I should be
I'd be lifting thousands of pounds.
Yeah, like that's not, it's just like that.
Yeah.
Crazy to me. So there's a lot. And to your point too, I had an episode, I've had some real spicy episodes lately. So if you want to be entertained, but talking about kind of unsolicited comments and just people in the gym and whatever. But I did say something in that episode about people that really know how to lift in the gym aren't judging you or aren't looking at you in a place, they're kind of like, oh, maybe your form could be better. But
if anything, we're contemplating coming to help.
Yes, right. It's from a good place.
And we're scared too, because we don't want it to be received poorly.
Right. And
There's been so many times I see bad form where I'm not judging them. No. I'm just going, damn, that was me once. I know something that I could tell him or her that could help her or him a lot. But like, I also don't want to be that person that inserts myself in somebody else and it's received poorly. Now all of a sudden I'm an asshole for trying to help. And so most of the time, if I know them, I'll be like, hey, I'm a trainer. Is there any way that you would take a piece of advice? Like, I'd love to give you a quick form tip that I think could help you a lot. And I've done it before. And usually it's received well, but it's never in a judgy manner.
Absolutely. And that's kind of what I was talking about. I mean, now to the people that are lifting super heavy and have bad form or, doing something that's like, what are you doing? Those people, sometimes I am judging. It's in a completely different way. Like,
okay. Yeah, you're right about that.
But you understand the difference. But no, I'm glad that you touched on that too, because I know it's intimidating to get started. And I think just knowing that, and I don't mean the people that matter as if not all of us matter, but as a woman going to the gym, I know that the people, I know that, like you said, the big, strong, burly man in there is usually the nicest. He would love to help you. And he's the one that most women are like, oh my God, there's this,
he's scary.
Yeah. And it's like, I'm like, cool. If you ever have questions, he would be the one to ask. He would be fantastic
100%.
Rather than some other people. So I like that you touched on that too, because it really is. The gym doesn't have to be a scary place. This whole fitness world culture doesn't have to be a scary place. I think sometimes it is simple. Most people are genuinely nice. There is a lot of information, and some of it's coming from a good place, but it is misunderstood when it's a 30-second, 5-second reel or whatever. And there is a lot of information, so that can be hurtful. But no, I'm really glad that you touched on all of that. So that was a really good conversation. I really could honestly just talk about.
I enjoyed it.
I love that you're just so down to earth and just kind of, well, I think it's one, when you're in the industry, like as long as you've seen a lot. So I was really excited to have you, chat with my people. They're going to love it.
Yeah,
so,
no, I'm glad we could finally get this done.
Me too.
And it was a very easy conversation to have.
Good.
A lot of some of these can be like overly scripted, or it's like, okay, I'm going to ask these specific questions, and I'm like trying to make sure that like I'm ready for very specific questions with very specific answers, and it's not very conversational and it's not very fun. This was not that, so
good.
I appreciate it.
I'm glad. Yeah, thank you so much. Where can people find you? Where should I send my peeps to?
Well, give it about like 30 seconds. You'll probably see one of our ads.
Yeah. Very, very
good.
But
no, I mean, we're on all social medias. If you want to search the brand, it's just V-Shred on anything, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. Our website, same, vshred.com. If you want to search my personal, it's just VIN_Sant, Vin Sant. I'm basically I have a TikTok. I just don't use it. I'm pretty much only on Instagram. But yeah. If you want to get in shape with us, we got a free quiz on our website. Check it out. But thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to today's show. Go ahead and leave a rating and a review. And of course, follow the podcast so you don't miss out on any future episodes. And I would love it so much if you came to connect with me over on Instagram at Christy Castillo Fit. I will see you next time.